just want to welcome you all. My name is Peter Lee. I'm the director of the School of Social Work, as well as a professor here. And we also have our advisor, Maya. Maya, how would you like to be addressed in the session today?
Advisor is fine with me. That's totally fine. Maya, that's either one is fine with me.
Okay, thank you. And then we have one of our students who is going to be graduating, woohoo, but also going into, coming into our master's program, yes? Yeah, okay,
Yes.
So Destiny is here. And then do I have any other faculty or student reps here today? Just trying to check quickly.
Not that I can quickly see.
Okay, that's fine. So of the university, San Jose State University or College of Health and Human Sciences, and now the School of Social Work. How many times have you all been welcomed? But can't overdo it in a sense. Congratulations, and you're in the social work breakout room here. So this is pre-orientation, and as I mentioned, some of you who were listening before we officially started, I wanted to start with some quick polling survey questions. We're not going to be doing a Zoom poll. We'll just be using the chat for this portion, okay? And so when we use the chat, I'm going to ask both Maya and Destiny to help me look at this. But if you could put into the chat, please, the best word that describes you now, okay? One word that describes you now. If you could put it into the chat, and I'll see what you all are putting in there, okay? Sorry, stressed. Yes, tired. Oh, hard work. Oh, no. It's like, but yes, right. It's like, oh, smart. Thank you. Okay, patient, stressed. Okay. Thank you so much for, and that's why we do these little polls, right? Because we want to be able to read the room a little bit, whether it's virtual or for reals. So if I were to put a word in there, my word right now is thankful. Okay. My word is thankful. And it's not to say that I'm not, tired. I'm not like stressed, overwhelmed like some of you. There's a couple of you put in kind and grateful. It's like, even especially during difficult times, having a sense of appreciation and thankfulness has really gotten me through. It's not to diminish what you're all feeling, especially if you're having a hard time, but hold on to that gratitude. Okay. Now, how far is home from San Jose? Okay, so you can put that in miles if you like. For those of you who are who put in like, you want to put it in 10 minutes. Okay, is that by walking or by airplane or? Okay, well, right, okay, 0, right? Yeah, I live in San Jose, probably 30 miles, 15 minutes in a car. Okay, for me, it's probably about 10 hours. Because if I were to walk, because I'm in San Francisco, so it's about 49 miles by car. 49 miles period, and then like an hour in a car, 10 hours if I walk. I think I can take a plane, but I've never tried that, so Destiny's shaking her head. Okay, now 79.5 miles, my goodness. Okay, that's pretty far. Anybody have over 100 miles? Okay, sometimes people are coming up from SoCal. Some people are from out of state, some people even international students. So just want to acknowledge we have quite a diversity about how far home is from San Jose, right? But welcome. Okay, and then the next one is from 1 low to 5 high. What is your excitement level about college? Okay, what is your excitement level about college? An 8, whew, thank you. Okay. 5, exclamation point. 4, 5, yes. 4.5, okay. Yeah. Okay, go ahead and put those in there. I think that even for myself, I would rate myself maybe like a 4.9. Well, there you go, 4.9. You read my mind. Okay, 4.9, because I'm definitely excited to have you all here coming in to start the social work program. But at the same time, the reality is like, oh, there's so much to do and so many things going on. But yes, very high numbers. Thank you so much. Okay, and the next one is related. How about from 1 low to 5 high? What is your anxiety level about college? Okay, anxiety level 5, 5, 5, 3, 100. Oh no. Okay, yeah, it's like we can relate to that. I mean, there's so many things that are happening, and we'll talk about what's happening with pandemic and shelter in place, and yeah, a lot of high anxiety. Some people who have a little bit low anxiety come give us some tips about how to manage our anxiety, right? We could always use that and support each other. Thank you so much for participating in the chat. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to also do this in the chat, but in a minute or so, I would like to actually ask maybe a couple of folks to unmute themselves and actually do an introduction, why social work, and a fun fact. Now, we don't have time for everybody to do that on an unmute, but we would love to hear your responses in chat. And then also, I'm going to ask Maya and Destiny to get ready to introduce themselves at this point too. So I'll give you an example. I'll both put it in the chat as well while I'm saying it. So my name is Dr. Peter. I'm typing as I'm talking. I can't chew gum at the same time though. He, him. Oh, I misspelled my him and his. Okay, so like for example, I'm Dr. Peter Allen Lee. My pronouns are he, him, his. Why social work? I'm passionate about helping others. I'll elaborate that in a little bit. And then my fun fact is that I will not give up binge watching. I have to have my TV. It's just the way it is. Okay. So if you would just take a few moments, you can put in the chat, and I'm going to just ask if there's any volunteers, maybe 2 or 3 of you that would want to unmute, introduce yourself, why social work, and a fun fact. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Darlene. Akshay. And also, please let me know if I'm mispronouncing your name. We'd love to get to know how to pronounce names correctly. Destiny, thank you. Jessica, thank you. Giving back to the community, yeah. Volunteer, yeah. Can't sleep with socks on, yeah, well. Yep, choosing social work to help others. Some of you, yes, some of you have families and children of your own coming back to school. That's great, Jessica. Lena, yes, thank you. Graduated at 16. Congratulations. Okay, anybody else put into the chat? Cats. We have a lot of cat lovers, yes. Taught English in China. Really, Maya? I didn't know that. Did you pick up any Chinese? Mandarin? Cantonese?
A little Mandarin, but you know, it's been a while. It's been a minute. So I've lost most of it, sadly.
You probably know more than I do.
It's a really difficult language to learn.
Is it Carly? Carly? Okay, social work, help others, but didn't know much about social work until career planning. Well, right, that's why we're in the major. Thank you. Clinical social work. You can't eat spicy food. Well, I guess it's all relative, right? How much spicy food. Like one of the things that I remember at one of the specialist grocery stores is a whole wall, and we're talking about a whole wall of different types of hot sauces. It's like, interesting. Okay, so we want to be mindful of our time. So how about I'm going to ask just for volunteers, 2 or 3 folks want to unmute, introduce yourself, why social work, and fun fact. Anybody? Anybody like to volunteer to unmute?
I just want to let you know that my name is said as in Corelli.
Corelli. Thank you,
Yeah.
Corelli.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it happens all the time, so I'm like used to it, but yeah.
Okay. Would you like to share anything about the introduction?
You practically read mine, but yeah, I guess like the way I got into social work was like a career planning course. And I always knew I wanted to help people, but I just never really knew how exactly. And I remember telling my counselor, and she was like, you could help people in like everything you do. So like what exactly do you want to do? And so I did research on social work, and that's when I was like, this is what I want to do, because I was volunteering as a youth group leader, and hearing their stories and just kind of being a guide for them really inspired me to want to continue to do that, but for other people.
Thank you so much. Yes, I'm sure that resonates with a lot of us. Thank you. Someone else want to unmute and introduce yourself? Why social work?
Hi, my name is Laura. I'm a returning student. I went to Sunset State and I took a break. I had 2 children and now they're big enough. They're gonna go start school. So now I have more time to come back. And a fun fact, I love children. I have kids. So that's something fun I like to do, watching kids. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. And congratulations coming back. Glad that you're here. How about one more? Anybody else? One more. Yes, we have quite a few returning students, and quite a few of you probably have your own families to take care of too. So thank you. Anyone else? One more? Okay, well, maybe, hopefully I didn't scare you all away with my personality here, but we'll see what happens. So Maya, could I ask you to introduce yourself, and then Destiny, well, you can go after Maya. Okay, so Maya?
Sure, thank you. My name is Maya Moore. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I let you all know a little bit earlier that I'm the assistant director for our Student Success Center, as well as a peer tutoring coordinator. I've been with the college since December of 2018. So it's been a pretty unpredictable time because the pandemic hit, my second year with the college. It's been a lot of learning curves. There's been a lot to learn, but it's thankfully, I'm with a great team, and everyone in the college, everyone in leadership, department chairs, everyone has been really supportive. And I love that how we've all come together to support you all as best as we can through all of the changes. So I shared that one of my fun facts was that I taught English in China for 1.5 years. That was actually my introduction to higher education. I am a former attorney, so I practiced law in Chicago for a while before transitioning to education. And so my first venture in that was in China, teaching English and film appreciation to college students there. So that's how I got started in education. Again, glad to see all of you, if not actually see you, but just to see your names and to welcome you here today.
Thank you. Destiny?
Yes. Hi, everyone. So my name is Destiny Santana. I am a senior in the social work program. I'm actually graduating this semester in a few weeks. But I am a transfer student. I transferred from Evergreen Valley College back in 2018, and I entered into the social work program. So I'm super excited to be here. I'm also our president for our student organizations, our student organization for the social work students, which I will teach you a little about shortly. But yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. Okay, so some tips. If you want to see faces or our faces, you can also adjust your Zoom screen so that you can see the pictures, the tiles of the people larger, but I'm gonna have my share screen on for most of the time, except maybe during the Q&A. So if you want to see more of us, just adjust your screen. And then of course the share screen is here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go through a presentation pretty quickly, but you will be able to access the recording. And then also, if you have a burning question, just place it in the chat and I'll ask Maya and Destiny to monitor that. We will also have a faculty member joining us, I think, at about 3 o'clock. So we might take a quick detour while that person introduces themselves and then come back, but we'll do the best we can on that, okay? So in terms of our presentation, okay, so we did a hello, we did brief introductions. Now you'll notice that the admitted Spartan Day information, I believe, is still up. And that actually has some good information about introductory video to our School of Social Work, as well as our information. So that's why I have that note there. If you haven't seen our videos, especially the one about what the School of Social Work is about, I would highly recommend it if you haven't seen it yet. And then we'll talk about the highlights of the program, USWA, which Destiny alluded to, about the student organization, and then Q&A. Okay. Am I correct, Maya? The admitted Spartan Day stuff is still up, right? And will be up for a while?
I believe that it is, but I am going to check that right now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so COVID-19 updates. Now things are changing rapidly, and fortunately for the better, but we're also wanted to let you know that the university, of course, prioritizes health and safety. So by the time that I put this slide together, things had already changed. Like, we're expecting whether or not the mask mandate will change in the state of California, but also in Santa Clara County, where San Jose State is located. You might be living in different counties, so you should watch to see what kind of advisors are there, and also about vaccinations and distancing. But just want to remind you that the university is doing its best to serve students during a very difficult time, still transitioning. Please continue to look for updates, and the situation is still changing, but hopefully we'll be back to full in-person activities soon. Now, some of you are actually thinking about, well, what if I still have some health or personal or family situations in which I want to protect myself? We want to let you know up front that when the university asked us to phase in partially in person, the school of social work decided that for all incoming juniors, your classes in the junior year in the School of Social Work will be still in online format. Okay. Now, unless, excuse me, unless the university tells us to change that, that is the plan currently. So what that means is, if you are planning to still have some type of interaction in person, your other classes that were mentioned, like if you're taking SJSU courses, general ed, upper division, electives, what have you, you need to check with those departments about the format. But for now, the format for all the classes that you're going to be taking as a junior in the School of Social Work will be online. Now, the reason why that is because when we had to do a proportion, we wanted to give the seniors the on-campus experience because they haven't had an on-campus experience yet, because this current year was still online. Okay. So there were some common questions that your classmates had emailed ahead of time, just in some advising. So basically what's happening is, when will the university make a decision about coursework and format? I had just let you know what our format is going to be. And then we do not know what spring is going to be yet. Now, if things continue to get better, all classes or many more classes will be in person. And then we'll figure out what the scheduling will be for spring 2022. But for now, fall 2021 is what I've explained. What is the BASW course plan? And are there significant changes due to the usual plan, like core or field courses? I'll show you a grid in a little bit about what a sample course plan will look like. And then Maya can also share with you anything about scheduling and registration. And Destiny can give you some tips about courses, how to manage them, those types of things. But there is a BASW typical course plan. Usually it's finished in 2 years, but for those of you who need more than 2 years, that's okay. It's just something that we want to give as a typical plan so you understand where we're coming from. What are examples of internships and community-based agencies students will work in? So those numbers, you're going to be inundated by all these different numbers, like social work 140. Well, what's that? Well, about 110. What about 175? Okay, well, you'll get used to that in a moment as you go along the program. But what we do have is what's called pre-field. And the introduction to field education is basically a series of volunteer experiences, as well as a class, which will talk about the profession and how to get ready for internship, which you will do in your senior year. Now, because of the pandemic, and even though it's getting better, we usually have the pre-field or social work 140 as the first semester in your junior year, but we moved that to the spring because we wanted students to have a better opportunity to actually do those experiences in person rather than online. So when I show you the typical course plan, you'll see what I mean. 141 and 142 are your internship courses, but that's in your senior year when you do the internship. And how do you find these agencies? The school will work with you and actually host a field fair in which you will be able to visit with these agency representatives and see what you would like to do in your junior year in preparation for your senior year internship. Okay. Maya and Destiny, just stop me if something's in the chat that seems urgent. Okay. Are there students or student groups available for contact and questions? Well, so happens that Destiny is here that can help with USWA. And then are there social media groups? I'm going to wait until we get to that part and Destiny can answer that. Is there a current social work student who is available for a new social work student client with questions? Well, what do you know? We have one right here, and then Destiny can help you with that. And what kind of living and support groups are there for social work students? Basically, we'll get to that in a little bit when we get to the student organization. And maybe Maya will also have some tips about student housing or communities nearby. Let me pause there. Anybody want to say anything, Maya or Destiny, at this point, or we need to wait till we get to those slides?
I think that we can wait. There's just one question about the course plan and where that can be found online. That may be coming up in your presentation though.
It'll be coming up in our presentation. And then also if you wanted to look for it, it's actually in the SJSU catalog, which is online, as well as what's called the BASW Bulletin, Program Bulletin, which you can find on the School of Social Work website. And then we'll get to that in a moment. Let's see. Okay, so leadership. So I'm the school director. Dr. Dewan is the program director who helps oversee everything in the undergraduate program. Dr. Schaefer and Dr. Thomas might be visiting a little bit later, but they are going to be the school advisors. Those are the folks who are going to be helping you with things like your course plan. If you have questions, if something's happening where you have to adjust your course plan, getting ready for graduation, things like that. Professor Osana Barba is the bachelor's program field coordinator. So you'll be interfacing with her probably sometime in the junior year to get ready for your senior year internship. And then Dr. Bruce is the faculty liaison for the student association. Okay. Now, advising and next steps, I'm not going to read this all the way through, but basically you've already been through some basic information about if you're an incoming frosh, you're probably coming from a different presentation. I think everybody here is a transfer student. So anything that's related to the college or your university requirements, you should be talking to an advisor in the college's Student Success Center, for example, Maya, okay? Anything that has to do with the social work major or social work courses, then you would refer to our advisors here in the school, okay? Quick tour of ASD Admitted Spartan Day. Those are just the links to Admitted Spartan Day. Again, if you haven't gotten a brief overview of our school and our college. Same thing for Admitted Spartan Day. And then some history and highlights. So we are in the College of Health and Human Sciences, and although you're here interested in social work, it's a really good opportunity for you to gain an appreciation about allied health professions. So occupational therapy, nursing, nutrition, kinesiology, public health. Even though most of you are thinking about a career in social work, you might be thinking about a career in something else, of which social work will give you a great foundation. But our college, wonderful college, in order to get to know these other disciplines as well as others. We recently celebrated our 50th anniversary. We didn't get to do an in-person celebration. That was last year because it was postponed. So we're hoping that we will be able to do that soon, but wanted to let you know that we're 50 years, more than 50 years old now. So you're part of a program that is also accredited, which is very important by the Council of Social Work Education. That just means that we're certified as a professional school of social work. We are the largest school of social work by enrollment in the Bay Area. So compared to San Francisco State, UC Berkeley, CSU East Bay, and Monterey Bay, all excellent programs. It just happens that ours is the largest by enrollment. And of course, we have a dedicated, experienced, and diverse student body, faculty, and staff. Okay. So the heart of our mission is a cultural model called the Transcultural Perspective. Hopefully, by the time you finish with us, this will be coming out of every ear, eyes, nose, whatever orifice that you have there, figuratively and little, well, you know what I mean. Okay, so basically it's because every school of social work, and now pretty much every discipline, has some type of cultural or diversity model. Now, what is this? You're going to be learning about this throughout your whole time here, but we want to review that we have 5 components in it. Okay. So cultural knowledge is something you're probably most familiar with. So what is the information? What are the experiences that make up what culture is? And culture is not limited to ethnic identity. Culture can be anything from gender, socioeconomic status, religious or spiritual background, political, education, any of these types of things that make up your identity. And so how do we embody and understand that knowledge, not just about ourselves, but about others as well? Cultural competency is a little bit of an outdated term now. It's more closer to what we call cultural humility or cultural sensitivity, but this is also what is our appreciation and not only our understanding our culture, but those of those around us, and understanding and having an appreciation of that. Power, privilege, and oppression, which possibly could be one of the main reasons you're interested in social work, is understanding that we're in a society that has experienced and continues to experience oppression and racism and marginalization. And so those who are in power, when they use it well, advance society, and those who abuse power continue to perpetuate this oppression and marginalization. Privileged is unearned status. We all have some form of privilege, of which just the very nature that we have an opportunity to be here in higher education gives us a little bit of privilege. But obviously there are groups that have more privilege than others, like those in mainstream society. But how do we recognize that, and how do we deal with that or use that? And then oppression is the process, of course, in which we keep marginalized and oppressed groups down and disempowered. Positionality and self-reflexivity. Positionality is basically a word meaning how do we understand our location in our identity? So for example, my positionality would be as an American-born Chinese. So when I was talking to Maya about, she probably knows more Mandarin and Cantonese than I do, is because having been born in this country, 3rd generation, I don't really have much language skills in that way. That's part of my identity. But my positionality also includes that I'm a straight male. I'm educated. I come from a middle-class family. I consider myself pretty spiritual. And so when you think about your own positionality, how does that create a lens or a way in which you learn, interpret, and also observe and process what's going on around you? Because if Destiny has a different positionality, we may be in the same room and the same situation, but see and interpret and behave totally differently because of our differences in positionality, and also how people interpret us and react to us as well. Self-reflexivity is the process of what it implies, reflection. It's being able to see within ourselves and understand how to build self-awareness, which is very important, not just professionally, but personally as a social worker. And respectful partnership is how do we then cooperate and understand these differences and aspects of culture to actually live harmoniously in our society. This model is what drives our mission, and hopefully something that you will learn and appreciate. No one can be truly culturally competent or truly be able to master these things, but it's an important journey to take in order for us to thrive and help others, both as professionals and as just folks in society. Okay. So most of our undergraduate students enter the social work major as transfer students, such as yourself. So we call the bachelor's program the BASW program, or Bachelor of Arts in Social Work. And then our major is considered impacted. So by the very nature of you being here, congratulations, because not everybody gets in. It doesn't mean that they're not qualified. It just means we have limited space. And that's true also of many of our other majors here at San Jose State. And also, if you're thinking about professional social work, you'll think about a master's degree, of which a master's program is also competitive. So congratulations for being in this major. So we have a curriculum that is based on a liberal arts foundation guided by coursework. And this is to help people understand the necessary knowledge and skills, especially in critical thinking about social problems and understanding social structures in American society. So we want to make sure that your foundation courses not only teach you about the history, the philosophy, the advocacy, even the shortcomings, which we'll talk about a little bit today, about the profession of social work, but also hopefully preparing you not necessarily to memorize facts and figures, but to have a critical mind and to understand how to find answers, or even understand how to work with different groups, whether they be groups of individuals, families, communities, or even society as a whole, okay? So what kind of social workers are we educating? We want you to be culturally aware, similar to what our mission is in our transcultural perspective. Historically, we focus on those serving the Latinx community because historically our school was founded to serve Spanish-speaking populations. In fact, it was a requirement that students become workingly fluent in Spanish in order to earn their degree. Okay, that has changed. But of course, we still hold this valuable because of either other cultural and minority groups, especially in this part of the nation. We're probably much more diverse than other places. And so to appreciate that diversity and how, like what you had mentioned in the chat, how we give back to our communities and help those that we identify with and those that we want to serve, especially those who are disenfranchised, oppressed, or marginalized. So we want to enhance the well-being of individuals and their communities about building the strengths of diverse cultures and also advocate for social justice. Okay. So when you go to the website, the San Jose State School of Social Work website, you'll see an example of a handout here. And so that you're not worried about, oh, what's on the handout? And just briefly, the first page talks about the transcultural perspective, which I just gave you a brief overview. So you'll see that familiar pie piece there. It's a description of a bachelor's program, which we're talking about a little bit today. It gives a short description about our master's program. And then it also, on the flip side, gives examples of potential internship sites and work settings. So if you can think about like, well, where do social workers, where do they actually work, or what kind of agencies and institutions are they connected with? You can talk about an endless list. We're talking about aging services, children, family, educational settings, hospital and clinical settings, homeless shelters, government agencies, even government and politics, legislative bodies, law enforcement, juvenile justice, any of these types of things that are now pretty hard to find a location in which social workers could not help. And there's even other schools, not ours, but other social work programs that are doing work in military social work, for-profit organizations where social workers help in things like human resources, as well as promoting well-being within the companies. There's just a lot of other things going on out there, including global and international social work as well. Okay, so the other part is talking about scholarships and grant opportunities. Unfortunately, at the bachelor's level, we don't really have scholarships available through social work, but you should look at the university's financial aid and scholarship opportunities, as well as you'd be surprised what you might be able to find by just doing some type of internet search or a Google search for scholarships available for your circumstances, whether you're first in your family to go to school, to go to college, if you have some type of unique characteristic or some type of other passion that you can relate to going to college, you'd be surprised what you might find. There is one opportunity called the Bachelor's Mental Health Training and Program. That is specifically sponsored by Santa Clara County Mental Health or Behavioral Health Agency. And basically what it is, it's a stipend that is earned for volunteer work and training, either at the junior and or the senior year. You could do it 1 year, you could do it 2 years. And it's basically an $8,000 stipend for 100 hours of volunteer work to train in mental health. And then you have to return after graduation to work a year in the mental health system, paid work, okay? But if you calculate your $8,000 stipend for 100 hours of volunteer work, That's $80 an hour. You know, who makes $80 an hour? That's pretty good. Okay, so you can think a little bit about that. Key curriculum. So when we think about key curriculum, there's 5 areas that you'll be covering in the bachelor's program. Human behavior and the social environment talks about theories of human development, as well as how does society work from an individual, group, family, community, organizational, and societal level. Social work practice, which is probably what you're most interested in. Okay, how do I actually go in and do what I want to do to help people? So you're going to have social work practice as an element. Social work policy, which also includes history and values, as well as policy advocacy and policy analysis. Social work research, how do we know that what we do is actually effective based on evidence? And then your field education and internship, okay? Let me pause there. I saw a chat flash, but Maya or Destiny, anything that I need to
Yes.
comment on yet?
So we just have a student asking, when is the last day to apply for the Santa Clara scholarship, meaning the mental health stipend scholarship? Dr. Lee, don't they usually email out when applications open and then a deadline?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's fall usually.
Yes, what we can do is we can make that announcement. We usually make that announcement during summer, but it's not too late to apply for that. And what we can do is if you were, let's, when we get to the Q&A part, I'll put the email addresses into the chat and we can just make sure that we get that information out for folks. Okay, thank you. Okay, what am I talking about here? Oh, okay. So one of the unique characteristics about social work compared to other disciplines is internship is a heavy, heavy part, and rightfully so, of your degree program. So you're required to take internship in your senior year. It's the equivalent of 480 hours of internship experience in your senior year. And that's what really gives you the practical day-to-day experience of what you're learning in a classroom and applying that back and forth in that way. Not that many other health science or health and human science disciplines have this type of or this much internship. So I would definitely encourage you to think about and get excited about what type of internship you'd be thinking about in your senior year. Okay. So this is just a list that I had mentioned about where are interns placed in our program. So we're talking about public and private agencies. So family service agencies, schools, residential treatment programs, substance use, hospices, hospitals, clinics, public health and community agencies, government agencies. Pretty much you can read this on your own and look at the list, but anywhere that you can think of that social workers will serve as pretty much open to you. Now, unfortunately, you can't just go out and find your own. These agencies that we use have to be vetted by the school to make sure they'll give you the proper learning experiences and that they have the proper supervision to give you. But I would say that our internships for our school are pretty diverse. And so whatever interest that you have, it's pretty likely that we'll be able to find at least something close to your interest in that way. So we have approximately 170 students in our major. We used to offer the minor. We don't offer the minor currently because of budgetary reasons, but we do want to let you know that we do have that still in the books. And that behavioral health stipend program, that's the one I mentioned about Santa Clara County Mental Health. Okay, and then remind me to give you the contact information so you make sure. Okay, now this is probably what most of you have been waiting for, which is, well, what's the sample class and course plan? Okay, so let me go through this a little bit and then also share with you about some nuances and some things you want to pay attention to. Okay, so as previously mentioned, remember that this is a diagram of a typical 2-year plan. Not everybody finishes in 2 years, okay? And so you might have personal circumstances or other things that don't allow you to do it in 2 years, and that's fine. We just want you to be aware. However, in the course plan, you'll notice that there are classes that only appear in a particular semester, fall or spring. So what happens is that if you choose not to do it in 2 years or something happens that prevents you from doing it in 2 years. If you miss a class or you're not able to take the class or you don't pass the class, it is very likely that you're going to have to wait a whole year before that class is offered again. Okay, so that is one of the downsides to our course plan. We don't call it a cohort system per se, where everybody takes the same classes with the same group of people, but it is an organized sequence because we want people to learn the progression of their experience and their education in a certain manner. Okay, so let's talk about what does that look like. So you all will be starting social work classes in fall of 2021. Okay, now here comes the numbers again, but in that sense, we'll just give you a brief overview. So you're going to be talking about taking 4 classes in social work, which are labeled 110, 120, 130, and 131. So 110 is your practice class, 120 is your policy class, and both 130 and 131 are your human behavior and the social environment classes. Now, the reason why you see 130 and 131 there is because remember I had mentioned for your pre-field, we want to try to improve the chances of you being able to do some type of volunteer experience in person. 140 used to be in fall, and 131 used to be in spring. But the reason why we flip-flop those is because if you had taken 140 in the fall, it would be online, and your volunteer experience would be not as easy to do because things are still not fully open from the pandemic. So we decided to flip those so that 140, your pre-field course, is in spring, which hopefully things will be way more opened up so that your volunteer and your learning experiences can be more direct in that way. So that's why you see in fall 2021, to give you your 4 social work classes, you see 110 practice, 120 policy, 130 and 131 HBSC in the same semester. Okay. Now you need a C or better and credit in 140, well, that's in spring, to qualify for field in senior year. And then also you have to keep in mind, when are you going to take your SGSU area courses and any other requirements that are needed for your degree. Remember, we're only in charge of the social work courses. You have to pay attention to your other courses. Now, some of you might be able to take more than 4 courses. So you can think about your electives and your SGSU area courses as needed. Some of you might not even be able to take those 4 courses, and then we'll have to think about going beyond 2 years to finish your degree, which is fine. Okay. So when you see the top row where it says social work advising, Dr. Schaefer and Dr. Thomas, anything in social work, those are your advisors. Anything in the SJSU area courses or other requirements needed by the university, that's the college advising and the Student Success Center. When you finish fall, you'll be ready for spring. You can think about your writing course. We don't know if 100W will be the same format, but 100W is usually offered in the spring. 121 is the follow-up policy class. 170 is research. 140 is pre-field. Then when you finish that and you make sure you get all your prerequisites, in fall 2022 and spring 2020, was that already 2023? Oh my goodness, yeah. So we're already talking about spring 2023. Those are the layout of your senior year practice courses, 111 and 112, your field courses, 141 and 142, and then what we call the capstone course or your senior capstone courses, which is 175. Now your SJSU area courses, RS and V, as well as any other electives that are needed, most times people take more of them in their senior year. So if you're on a 2-year plan, fall 2022 and spring 2023, because you'll notice that there are fewer social work classes to take in your final year. Doesn't mean you take less units per se overall, but most of those units might be outside of the school. Okay. Now this is you can take a screenshot of this. You can do a picture with your phone. It's also outlined in the BASW Bulletin that's on the website. And this is probably where people have most of their questions. So Maya and Destiny, anything in the chat or anything that you would like to say at this point here?
There is a question in the chat about SGSU area RS and B classes and how many do you need to take. So I can address that. You just need to take one class for each area. So one for area R, one for area S, one for area V. And there are many different options. So whatever your interest may be, there is a course, there's an SJSU studies course for that. And you'll see that in the catalog and in the class schedules, you start choosing classes. And also there's 100W, which you'll take in spring 2022. That's area Z, that's your area Z course. So hopefully that gets at your question.
Destiny, are you still there? Okay, I was going to ask Destiny if she had any comments about how she did her course plan, but we'll catch her in a moment. Okay. Other
There's
questions?
a question about the asterisk.
Oh,
just
yes.
want to know what the asterisk stand for.
Thank you for that question. So the asterisk means that you have to have a C or better and a credit in 140 to qualify for field. So what that means is when you get to your senior year, that's when you usually take your internship, which is 141 and 142. You'll find that under the columns for a 2-year plan as fall 2022 and spring 2023. So the asterisk means that you need to pass with a C or better social work 110, which is practice, social work 120, which is your first policy class, social work 130, which is your first human development class, and social work 140, which is your pre-field, in order for you to qualify to do internship in your senior year. Yeah. Does that help? Okay. So that asterisk is denoted also by the note there about the C or better in order to qualify for field. Okay, any other questions so far? Destiny, are you back?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, thank you. Did you have any comment about the course plan or any tips from a student perspective about how this might work out?
Yeah, so I actually have a presentation that I have some student tips, so tips for students from students, so I can actually present on that as well. It's in my presentation that I have. And it kind of mentions about courses.
So how about this? Okay, how about this? If there aren't any questions at the moment about the grid, let me get through the other parts of the presentation because Destiny will give her portion from student point of view and also student organization, okay? So it's not the last time for you to ask questions about this. I just want you to keep it in mind as we move forward, okay? Okay, so moving on. Your general education requirements, this is the area courses. So if you, this is just a screenshot of the university website. So you can refer to this through the internet, but this is just a screenshot of what what the university will have for the catalog, as well as general education requirements. This is the website. So this is just a screenshot of our School of Social Work website. And you'll notice that under the programs portion, you'll also have a Bachelor's of Social Work program page. So it looks like this, Bachelor of Social Work. And then when you actually get to the part on the bottom, which says Program Bulletin, you can click on that link and you can look at the latest PDF version of the Program Bulletin. So for those of you who are wondering, where do I find the class numbers and the course description? Excuse me, and then also the grid of the typical 2-year plan. It's all in the Program Bulletin, which you can find on our website. Okay. The bulletin looks like this. This will eventually be 2021, 2022, but this is what the face page of the Program Bulletin looks like. Again, the link that you can go to, or you can just search for it on our website. And then advising in terms of next steps, again, our school advisors for the social work major, and then college advisors for any of your other requirements. Now, when we're talking about USWA, I'm going to hand this part over to Destiny. Destiny, I just have some basic slides on USWA, but I think maybe you might want to take it from here and then go.
Yeah. If I can share screen since I'm co-host, and then I can go ahead and share my slides here. Let's see here. All right, so let me see. Gosh, I can't remember how to present. Okay, here we go. All right, so as I said earlier, my name is Destiny Santana. So I'm a senior in the BASW program, and I'll be completing up in the next few weeks. So what I'm going to be presenting to you guys, presenting you guys is about USWA. And so it's a student organization and it's called Undergraduate Social Work Association. So you'll hear this word a lot, but we usually just, instead of saying the full thing, we just say USWA. So basically about USWA, it's a student organization that was created by and for social work students, so specifically for undergraduates. So these are students that are just like you, coming into the program, who have not graduated yet and are in the social work program. And so the purpose of our student organization is basically to increase communication between students in the school. We raise funds for graduation and we create a network between all social work students. And so kind of what we do as a student organization, we will do different things. Now, obviously this is pre-COVID, but normally we would help plan events like barbecues, pool parties, comedy night, picnics, Friendsgiving, and after COVID or during COVID, we started doing Zoom parties. And then also other things that we do is plan educational and empowerment events. So we'll do things like anti-racism events and we'll bring guest speakers. These are all events that are available to all social work students. We create and sell social work apparel like sweats and shirts and sweaters. For example, I have a quarter zip sweater that it's my favorite that we designed and we do sell it. Again, we fundraise for graduation, we do raffles, we ultimately create a network between all students. We're representing the BSW undergraduates at faculty meetings. So that just means if we have questions, concerns, or feedback that we want to give the faculty, we are the liaison between the students and the School of Social Work. We do offer specific type of scholarships throughout the years, and then we use and our social media to post like all of the latest information. So really, we are your go-to group of students who, all of us are social work students, and we're doing all of this just for social work students. And so we want to welcome you. You guys are our newest members. So now that you're starting the social work program this fall, you are automatically enrolled into the USWA student organization. And so again, our organization, you just have to be currently attending SJSU, you have to be an undergraduate, and you have to be a declared social work major. So as members, we encourage you guys to join us for monthly meetings. We encourage you to get involved and attend our events. And let's see here. And so let me move. I think this might be in the way. And so I highly, highly suggest you guys to follow us on social media. So we have a Facebook group page. That one, you just ask to join it and we'll approve it. That one is used a lot. A lot of people will sell their textbooks on there, or if they need to rent a room, or if they have a question about a social work class. This group is specifically just for social work students at SJSU. So you can join Facebook and throw a question on the wall and everyone usually will answer. Then we have Instagram. That one we use a lot. So our handle is there. I highly suggest that you follow us on Instagram. We usually post a lot of updates on there that pertain to social work students. And then we do have Twitter as well. So if you have a moment, I would say take a picture and as soon as you can, follow us on social media because that's how you'll stay up to date throughout the year. Usually if we learn about any updates in the School of Social Work, we will post it on our social media. So another thing that is going to be a really useful tool is we do actually have a website. So our website has tons of information. Anytime we get any update from the School of Social Work, we will try to update it here, which is events and updates. You can learn more about USWA. You can see who your student representatives are, our social media info. You can see photos. You can buy apparel. You can contact us. You can update your profile and register your email. There are tons of stuff on this website. So I would say save this URL and check it on a regular basis because anytime we get an update, we will update our website. So the website URL is here. So I would say just take a quick photo and then check it out later. Also on our website, like I was mentioning earlier, we do sell social work apparel. So we have, this is the one I'm wearing today. So it's like a quarter zip. We have full zips, we have t-shirts. These are all t-shirts and sweaters that are designed by students. And then we get it manufactured and printed, and then we sell it. And the money goes right back into our student organization. So we can do like scholarships, raffles, and we can pay for the graduation. So all of the money is used for social work students. So if you want your first social work sweater, I would say check out our website, and then we can ship to home. Just a quick thing. So this is the current student representatives, which includes me. So we are actually wrapping up our term since we're all graduating. And so we actually just launched elections, and elections just closed. So now we have new student representatives. So these are going to be students who are going to represent you guys for 2021 to 2022. So we have our new representatives. We're going to have a new president, new vice president here. We have a new secretary, new treasurer. And again, these are all social work students who are going to represent you guys throughout the school year. We have our social media officers that we just got elected into office. We have our member relations, and we have merchandise officers who will be in charge of the apparel and the sweaters. We have our social events officers who are going to be in charge of planning social events for you guys. We have a graduation officer. We have tons of officers who just got elected into office. And we have student representatives. So we're extremely excited to have these representatives. There's a total of 20. So just think about that as next year comes around, because you can actually apply to be an officer for next year and spring of 2022. The part I wanted to show you guys was this is advice from current students to you guys. So some advice that we have, as we're wrapping up our year of being BSW students and we're graduating, this is kind of things that we can think of that we want to share with you all. So one thing that says here, it says, meet as many social work classmates as you can. Don't be shy, do study groups. There may be your colleagues one day. You'll think, at community college, I went through community college not interacting with a lot of students, but when I came to SJSU, pretty much all my friends are now my social work classmates. So don't be shy. I would say the next advice is build relationships with your professors. You never know, they might actually be your manager or colleague one day. So, build relationships with them. You'll meet a lot of great professors. So that's one tip for you. The next thing says network. Network means, go out to social events. If USWA is throwing an event on Zoom, join it, network, because a lot of social workers join these events, and you just never know who you're going to meet and what kind of resource they can be to you later on. The next step is take notes of resources that you learn. And so what that means is throughout your undergraduate, you're going to meet a lot of different people who work at a lot of different agencies. And so if you learn about something, write it down, because you never know if they can be a resource to you one day. One tip students wanted to tell you was buy used books if possible. Sometimes a lot of students who are new, they want to buy new books. Honestly, for us, we just say buy used books if possible. Some students even buy ebooks, and then they split the cost and then they share it online, but just be careful with that because there's usually like a cap. And then some students will also sell their textbooks on our Facebook wall. So that's why I was saying I really suggest that you join us on Facebook, because you might be able to buy a textbook on there. So some other tips that we have are don't procrastinate. Homework and reading will definitely pile up, so try not to procrastinate. You're going to hear that a lot, but it's one of our biggest advice to you. Another tip is reach out when you need help. So there is mental health services that's offered by SJSU, and so I would definitely recommend that you utilize those services. If you're ever feeling like you're having a mental breakdown or you really need someone to talk to, utilize those services. Another tip that we have for you is ask questions and be curious. So when you're in class, don't be shy, ask questions. If something, if you're curious about something or something you want clarification, don't be shy, ask questions, be curious, push the envelope. Another tip for you guys is pay attention to TCP, which is the Transcultural Perspective. As you guys heard, Dr. Lee was talking about it. And I remember when I came into the program, I was like, I don't need to pay attention, but you will learn that every single class will talk about the Transcultural Perspective. And then all of your papers are gonna have to incorporate that concept. So pay attention, try to understand it, and it really will be useful to you. Another tip is stipends. There are stipends out there. I would say definitely check out the SJSU scholarship website. They have tons of like scholarships on there. And then Dr. Lee did mention the mental health stipend, which is the one I know about. So be on the lookout for that as well. We're kind of getting to the end of the list, but the last one here, it says, it goes by fast. So enjoy it, get involved, have fun, and make memories. That's our biggest advice to you. And the last thing here says, be prepared for internship. Don't freak out just yet. Just remember the School of Social Work will walk you through the process, and they will walk you through the entire thing. So don't freak out about the internship just yet. Just remember, make the best of your internship. You're going to learn a lot, and just choose wisely. And as we come to an end, I want to say thank you, and I'm open to any questions. And don't forget to follow us on social media or visit our website. And let me see if there's any questions. Let me stop sharing.
Can you put the email contact in the?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Questions for USWA, Destiny, anything? Student experience?
I have one. So she mentioned that she was a transfer student. So how was your experience going into USWA as a transfer student? Like how are you able to navigate? Because now you're the president. So how was that experience for you?
Yeah, so when I was at community college, I didn't make no friends. I like really kept to myself. So when I came to SJSU, I really didn't know what to expect. Luckily, when I came, we were in person. So honestly, in class, they put us in a lot of like group work. And so I got to know a lot of the social work students. And then from there, I just started networking. Like anytime there was like a social work event, I would just go. And then I started building relationships with like the professors and then the staff and the students. And then I learned about USWA, and me and a bunch of my classmates were like, oh, like let's join USWA and be board members and officers. And we didn't know what we were going to get ourselves into. But I did it, and I loved it so much that I did it for 2 years in a row. So I was president last year, and then I got elected into another term. So I've done it for 2 years now. So my biggest advice to you is just get involved as much as you can, even if it's a Zoom event. You're going to meet a lot of people in the social work field, and those are people that I've met during class, and I actually use them in my job. When I'm helping clients, I'm like, oh yeah, I have a friend that works at another agency. Let me call them. So it really has like been really useful. So yeah, hopefully that helps a little. And yeah, if there's any other questions, I am here to give you that student perspective. Yeah, what it's like to be a student in the program. So please feel free to ask me anything.
Destiny, do you have to
Yeah.
be an officer to be involved in USWA? And who actually is in USWA?
Yeah, so you don't have to be an officer to be involved. Like I said, as soon as you become a social work undergraduate at SJSU, you're automatically a member of a USWA. So all of you guys are all members. And you don't need to be an officer to be involved. Like you'll usually get an email from us and we'll be like, hey, we're throwing this Zoom social and there's gonna be raffles, so join, right? Or anytime there's an event, just come out, enjoy yourself. You guys are all members, and then you'll get to meet all the other social work students. Yeah, any other questions or anything like that? Okay, if there's no questions, definitely don't forget to follow us on social media, check out our website. I put our email in there, so you can always email us. And then our internship is flexible with your work schedule. It sounds scary now because I do work full time. Yeah, I was there. I know the feeling. So internships normally for your bachelor's program, it's usually on Tuesdays, Thursdays. And I worked full time and I interned. So it's definitely possible. Don't be too scared. but you're definitely going to have the School of Social Work to walk you through. But just a heads up, it is normally going to be on Tuesday, Thursday. Typically, those are the days you're going to intern. Yeah. Any other questions?
And just to round that part out, there is a responsibility in terms of the internship, and can definitely understand folks' anxiety about that. But as Destiny said, internship for you all is not going to happen for at least another year. Pre-field, which you will do, which is a class, which is 140 in the spring. That would be a great question to bring up during that time, because a lot of things can happen between now and your senior year. You might find a job that's a little bit more flexible. Maybe your financial situation will change or improve. You can ask the field office to see if they can find an internship that has non-traditional hours, but I do want to be transparent and say that is not guaranteed. So you might want to think ahead, but that's again a whole year away. For you to think a little bit about that and to continue asking questions. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it looks like there's another question. So what's been my favorite part of the program? I would say meeting all my classmates, because now they're like, some of them are like my best friends now. So that's been really great. I've actually gotten really close with a lot of professors. So that's been really awesome to have them as like an added support, where they're just kind of like family now. I miss when it wasn't COVID, because then I can just walk in the School of Social Work and say, hey, Dr. Lee, and talk to everybody, but that can't happen. And then another favorite part, surprisingly, internships. A lot of people are intimidated by it, but that's actually where I learned a lot. So my first volunteer experience, which is for 140, I was volunteering at a juvenile hall. And then for my internship, which is for 141 and 142, I interned with the Department of Family and Children's Services, so with DFCS. So honestly, that was my favorite part of the program. That's where I really got to like utilize the skills that I was taught in class and really put them to practice. Yeah. Any other questions? These are great questions. I'm excited for you guys to all start. I remember being in this orientation thinking, what did I get myself into?
Was I in charge of that orientation too, Destiny?
Yes.
Like, he does it the same way. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
well, yep.
Okay, how about this? We want to honor folks' time, but you can always still ask questions. Destiny put the USWA email in there. So if you're wondering, oh, you had a question that happens later, mark that down, as well as where the website is. They did a great job on the website, and Destiny and her team of officers have done a tremendous job, not just this year, but for 2 years. Remember, she has been the president for 2 years, and then we're looking forward to having her in our master's program. So let's
I was going to say,
yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, Dr. Lee. I was going to say, I'm going to hop off. I do got to get back to work, but I'm excited to welcome you all. I've been in your shoes, so please feel free to email us. Or if you're on social media, you can DM us. We're always on DM. Just hit us up if you have a question. And then if we don't know the answer, we will get you the answer. So I'm going to hop off, but definitely hit me up if you guys need anything. Okay. And thank you, Dr. Lee.
Thanks.
Bye, Maya.
Yeah. Okay. Take care. Okay, so what we're going to do, there was a question in the chat. I'll just generalize it because folks might be wondering. There was a question regarding whether or not students will have a choice if they wanted to remain online or in person. And so the best answer that I have right now is it really will depend on what the university and of course the general health guidelines will be. For fall, we already know that junior classes in social work will be online, but Maya might want to chime in a little bit. Once you start thinking about electives and other departments, you're going to have to find out what format they're doing it in. And then if the university decides that it is safe for all campus activities to come back in spring 2022, then we're going to offer our program in its traditional on-campus manner. And then certain types of accommodations that students need will be taken case by case because the school cannot determine accommodations per se. the university has other offices that will look at how to figure out accommodations. Let me pause there. Maya, do you want to say anything about that?
Really, just to echo what you said, traditionally the majority of classes are offered in person. There are, some online options, but not as many as in person. I mean, that being said, we don't really know what spring 2022 will look like. I know that many students have enjoyed the flexibility of online classes because we are a commuter campus. So I would not be surprised if there's a greater offering of online courses in the future. Not to say that we're going to take away in-person courses. I'm just saying add on some additional sections of online classes in the GEs and maybe in some major courses. So that's what I anticipate will happen moving forward. The same thing is happening with tutoring and other support services. We're kind of rethinking our models and saying, you know what, this really worked for many students that commute to have services online. So we'll probably keep some online tutoring hours just to accommodate like the vast diverse population that we have.
Thank you. Out of transparency, the likelihood that the same class will offer two different choices in format. So let's say social work practice 2, right? Okay, the second semester of social work practice, will there be like one section in person and one section online? My guess is that that will not be the format of the choice. And the reason why we're not thinking of it that way is because if you can imagine how difficult it is to puzzle piece student request, imagine also compounding that with professor request. So, if I have to think about professor schedule as well as student schedule and university schedule, sometimes that's just a little bit overwhelming. Now, again, and I apologize that we're not equipped to give that many different choices and flexibility, but I do want to reiterate that the university is committed first to safety. So if we're talking about people who are worried about pandemic and safety conditions, I don't think the university would open up in that fashion if they didn't feel that it was safe for students, faculty, and staff to come to campus. Now, in terms of convenience, or again, that will have to be case by case because unfortunately, with any situation, not just pandemic, but you've now seen some of your classmates ask about their work schedules, their family schedules, all of that. We want to try to understand and we will definitely listen, but unfortunately, we're just not able to say yes to all of these types of requests. So please think a little bit ahead about that to see. Any follow-up on that? Thank you. Okay, so the reason why it has staff is because the instructors are being assigned now. So it will be updated to the actual professors' names. I don't know if it will be before you register. The circumstances that happen before that is because there's a lot of unknowns happening with our professors as well. So the best that I can say about that would be we will do the best we can to fill in the names as soon as possible. When does registration start, Maya?
It starts as early as June 7th.
Yeah, so about what, 3 weeks? 3 weeks from now?
Right.
So we'll do our best to be able to populate as much as we can in terms of the teachers' names. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to resume sharing screen just so you know what else is finishing for our presentation. So what we have here is just some folks and pictures. The other picture is the same one of USWA officers. They were socially distant. They were careful when they took the picture at that time. And so the other things that happened in our school is we usually have a partnership not only with USWA that Destiny presented on, but there's also a Social Work Graduate Student Association, an Alumni Association, the local chapter of the National Association of Social Workers, which is the professional organization you should think about being part of. Then, of course, the school. And when we collaborate on large events, such as when we have our annual gala again, remember I told you we missed our 50th anniversary in-person celebration because of pandemic. We still hope to have that in some fashion soon. We do a comedy night. We do an annual picnic. We also have what's called legislative lobby days, where it's a trip to Sacramento, the state capital, in which students learn about the political process and how legislation affects what we do in our community. That happens once a year. And then, of course, graduation. And that's where the partnerships usually happen across the different groups in our school, related to our school. So your passion. So you're probably attracted to social work because of your passion to help others. Remember in the chat, most of you had said wanted to help this, had grown up this way, had this experience, want to be able to contribute to your community. Definitely, we all resonate with that kind of passion. So thank you for choosing one of the most difficult professions and committed to social justice. And now this slide that I usually display has changed in the last year. I would used to say something like, thank you for joining the most noble profession, meaning the profession of social work. And the reason why I don't say that anymore is because as we've been learning and becoming more aware, including in my own process, I'm on a learning trajectory just like you all, is that we have to realize that social work as a profession historically has contributed to racism and racist practices. So you're going to be hearing a lot of things like, well, wait a minute, child welfare system, internships, or involvement with law enforcement, aren't these the very systems that are either killing people or marginalizing people or oppressing people? And you know what? We have to admit that our social work profession is part of that problem and historically has been part of that problem. Now, does that mean I'm less proud to be a social worker? No, I am definitely proud to be a social worker. However, I would need to take responsibility for parts that I've played in perpetuating any of these types of problems. So you're joining a profession, and I'm glad that you're joining our profession, but you also have to realize that we're part of the responsibility to make sure that what we're doing and the solutions that we're looking at takes into account anti-racist efforts. What does social justice really mean? What does it mean for taking ownership of the history and our collusion with these particular types of oppressive practices, and then change them? It's the part about being self-aware, being to also raise awareness in others. And so in that way, many of you might be even further along than many of our professors about their learning and their journey, but we're all on this journey. We're all on the same journey in this way. And I hope that you will be continually inspired to be part of our profession, but just also remember that we're part of unfortunate parts of our history as well. So you can continue to find the information through the website. And then before I open it up for the last parts of questions, one of our other professors, Dr. Asha Thomas, has joined us. Dr. Thomas, can you hear us?
Yes, I can, Dr. Lee.
Hi, Dr. Thomas. So we're finishing up our presentation, and Dr. Thomas is eventually now phasing into one of the advising roles for our school. Dr. Thomas, can you just introduce yourself, something about your passion for social work and a fun fact, please?
Oh, okay. So thank you, Dr. Lee. Passion for social work. Like when I introduce myself, I always say that I began my social work career in India as a community organizer. So my work was mostly on the macro level of social work. And what is macro social work? That's one of the concepts you will learn in one of the courses, HBSC. And so I worked on a lot of issues related to women's empowerment and environmental justice. So that's where my passion is still today. In fact, today I have just finished my last class for global social problems. We looked at some of these issues. I'm excited to see all of you here. And a fun fact about me, Dr. Lee has heard this a number of times, I can speak 6 languages. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. And I hope to see you soon.
Okay, there we go. Let's see. So right now, that's the conclusion of our presentation. We will hang out for a little bit here. Anybody have any questions? And then Maya, I think the repeat instructions is that we need to make sure that people go back to the main room to check out, right?
That's right. And once we wrap up, to return to the main room, you'll just click the blue leave room button in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, and then choose return to main room. Don't leave the session altogether, just return to the main room. Thanks, everyone.
Is there anything else that you would like to say, Maya, before we conclude our part?
I don't have anything else. Well, I do have something to add. Going back to the email that Anthony Corson sent out to everyone, in addition to links to the catalog for your degree program and the social work bulletin, your roadmaps, all that good stuff, there's also a class registration video link embedded in that email. And so that is going to help you with class registration coming up in June. So please do check that email out. It's chock full of information. I know there's a lot of language there, a lot of typing there, but it's all good, important info. So please check out that email and read it carefully. And then if you still have questions during the summer, we're here for you at the Student Success Center. So you can make an appointment with one of our advisors and we'll help you out. Thanks again.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions? Okay, well, then on behalf of our university, our college, and the School of Social Work, thank you so much for coming to pre-orientation. I'm not sure if I'm going to see you again during transfer orientation in the summer. Is that possible, Maya? Or is this, they have to come again sometime during the summer? Or
there is a second portion. There's the university-wide transfer orientation program in June. And so I'm not sure if you're joining the college welcome for that, Dr. Lee, or not. I know that the dean's office is making the preparations and doing all the planning for that event. So it's possible that you'll see everyone again.
okay, well, if we do, we do. And then also we expect to see you when you're going to be part of our program for the next couple of years as well. So thank you. Okay, everyone, thank you so much. We'll stay here for a minute or so just in case, and then have a good rest of your day. Take care.